Hi, welcome. My name is Rachel, and I'm a certified yoga therapist. And my job is to help people use yoga to move themselves towards health and well being. So, if that's your goal, I want to share with you today 3 things that we can learn from Ayurveda, that's yoga's sister health science, that can really help us think about how to use our yoga practice to support our own health. So, the first thing that I think is really important is that your yoga practice is personal, right? It's individual, it is particular to you. And that is true whether you're practicing by yourself at home, in a private session, or in a group setting. You still need to think about your yoga practice as an individual, adaptable practice that meets your own unique needs. And that's because every one of us is a little bit different. We are fundamentally different, right, as who we are in the world in this lifetime. And then we are different from day to day and moment to moment because our circumstances are always changing. And so, what you need and how your yoga practice can help you move towards wellness is going to change over time. So it's really important to pay attention to how you feel coming into your yoga practice, while you're doing the yoga practice, and afterwards, after any specific part of the practice and after the practice as a whole. And that is going to help you really get to know how yoga supports you and where maybe your yoga practice is being done in a way that is actually pushing you out of balance and away from your optimal health. That brings me to the second point that I think is really important. And that is that when we're thinking about health and well being in the yoga context, in the yoga therapy context particularly, what we're thinking about is a state of balance. So if you're noticing extremes, those could be in your mood, they could be in your body in terms of sensations or symptoms. They could be also extremes that exist outside of yourself, either the circumstances you find yourself in or the weather and the seasons that are around you. When we're in times of extremes, if we want to work towards our own best state of health and wellness, then the way to do that is to work towards balance. And the way that we can balance extremes is bringing in more of the opposite. So if you're feeling really heavy, how can you bring some lightness into your yoga practice? If your mind is racing, how can you bring some stillness and some stability and maybe even a sense of heaviness or density into your yoga practice, into your body, into your mind? And there might be lots of different answers for this. How do you know? 2 ways: work with a knowledgeable expert and observe yourself, study yourself, right? So that brings me back to this point that I made previously. Notice how you feel coming in, notice how you feel during, and notice how you feel after. And then make adjustments so that it feels like your practice is serving you. The third thing that I think is really important, I've already alluded to this one too, because these all intertwine, but things are always changing. I think as humans, we often have a false sense of continuity and stability and even sometimes stuckness. So when we experience things that we don't like in ourselves and our circumstances, it often feels like we are stuck and those things cannot possibly change. When we really take time to look closely, often what we'll notice is things are changing all the time. And that itself can be uncomfortable sometimes, that realization that in fact, things are always flowing. The way that we feel is always changing. However, right, the fact that things are changing all the time is really what gives us our power to choose practices and to choose our approach to yoga in a way that is really going to influence how we feel. So, again, if you pay attention to the shifts within your own energy, maybe over the course of a day, but also over the course of months and years, you pay attention to the shifts in the weather, right? If it's really hot, you might want a different yoga practice than you do when it's cold. If it's really dry, you might want a different yoga practice than you do if it's really humid. So, as we pay attention to all of these different shifting circumstances that happen in our lives, we can get better and better at really refining and being clear about how our yoga practice can serve us, how we can take care of ourselves and really care for ourselves, right, from the heart in our yoga practice. So, this is food for thought. I would love it if you're willing, if you just reflect on this as you're doing whatever yoga practice is in your life, whether you're working through the videos here or you're doing another practice. This is just a framework that I find really helpful if we're really thinking about how yoga moves us into a state of health. And if you have questions, I'd love to answer them in the comments. And you can take this framework into any of the videos on this channel. And I hope that'll give you a nice perspective on what we're doing as we go through those practices. May we all be balanced and well. Thank you so much.